Okay, good evening, and thank you for joining us. I now call the regular City Council meeting of March 17th, 2026 to order. Next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, so everyone can join me in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Moving to item 2, we have our land acknowledgement. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the Ohlone people who are the traditional custodians of this land. We pay our respects to the Ohlone elders, past, present, and future, who call this place Ohlone land, the land that Pinole sits upon, their home. We are proud to continue their tradition of coming together and growing as a community. We thank the Ohlone community for their stewardship and support, and we look forward to strengthening our ties as we continue our relationship of mutual respect and understanding. Okay, we are now on to item 3 of the agenda, roll call and city clerk report. Madam City Clerk, if you will.
Thank you. Mayor Tave.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Murphy. Oh, he's not on yet. Okay, I'll note for the record that he's not joined yet. Councilmember Sasai.
Here.
Councilmember Martinez Rubin.
Here.
Councilmember Toms.
Here.
Interim City Manager Evans is here. City Attorney Casher.
Here.
Deputy Clerk Stone.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, the agenda was posted on Thursday, March 12th at 3:30 p.m. with all legally required notices. Written comments were received in advance of the meeting, distributed to staff and council, posted on the website, and are available at the back of the chambers for public viewing. I'll note that Council members Murphy and Sasai are joining the meeting remotely per the provisions of AB 2449 this evening. Does the council have any conflicts to report on agenda items this evening? Seeing none, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. So we'll be moving on to closed session. We will reconvene the meeting at approximately 6:30. This is item 4, conference with real property negotiators, Government Code 54956.8. Item B is conference with labor negotiators, Government Code 54957.6. And so we'll be moving on to closed session and reconvening at approximately 6:30.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have a public comment for our closed session item.
Right. Citizens may address the council regarding closed session. We have public comment.
Yes, on item 4A. Is that right? I'm sorry, 4A and 4B.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City Manager.
1 second, ma'am. We want to get the mic on.
Okay, better?
That's great.
Okay. The City of Pinole going forward needs to have a total transparency on any and all items and matters that are handling that is affecting our city. This is our city, and the residents have the right to know who is supporting our city and who is not supporting our city during these closed sessions. We have approximately 20,000 residents and 4 council members and a mayor, with 3 of them having questionable judgments and alternative agendas. This way we can make informed decisions when it's time to vote in November on who will not be reelected. Tonight you will negotiate the price and terms of an intern city manager. Welcome to our new interim city manager, Garrett Evans. I hope you are strong-willed and that you will do your best to protect the city and its residents on any and all levels that affect us. The public's questions have not been answered on numerous occasions about the reason for the last 2 city managers leaving and compensation that may have been associated with them when they departed. We, the residents, should not have to pay a penny for anyone who has left a position or is not performing the job that they were hired for. The city going forward should delete any and all contract terms with this type of wording or package offered. Excuse me. We need tonight to have a long overdue contract approved to support our hardworking police officers and our emergency response teams. You have postponed and ignored them long enough. If it comes down to one council member not supporting the contract and that council member is Sasai, then he needs to remove himself due to his past ideology of defund the police mentality. Our city needs to remain safe and protected. Thank you.
Thank you, speaker. Do we have any other public speakers?
Yes, we have Rafael Menace online.
Good evening, Mayor, Council staff, President-elect. My name is Rafael Mess, resident of Pinole. Can you hear me?
We
Yes,
can.
go ahead.
All right, so my comments on item 4B, the police contract. I recently received a survey, I'm not sure it was from the city or not, going over several potential tax measures, including a potential 0.25% special sales tax measure dedicated to public safety. Does either the city or the PPEA have the results of this survey at this time? Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. I'm not sure, City Attorney, can we answer that question or would we move on?
We could take it under submission and
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Do we have any other? Thank you, Speaker. Do we have any other speakers?
There are no more public comments.
Okay. We'll go ahead and convene to closed session and again be back at about 6:30. Okay, good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and reconvene into open session. So we have no reportable action on items A and B of our closed session. So we will be moving to our first citizens to be heard. So anybody with public comment, Madam Clerk.
Thank you. Yes, we have William Horton, Debbie Long, and Jennifer Horn.
Is it on?
There you go.
Mayor and Council, my name is William Horton, and I'm a Pinole taxpayer. Tonight I am speaking against Measure D on the June 2nd ballot, the directly elected mayor. This is a waste of $55,000 in the budget. I am voting no on Measure D because it does not guarantee any new funds or new ideas. I am voting no on Measure D because it would still result in 5 people voting for the budget just like now. I am voting no on Measure D because it would not increase the Pinole quality of life, police, fire, parks, and streets. I am voting no on Measure D because it solves a problem that doesn't exist. In fact, I have only heard about this issue from the Pinole Council members' majority that put this issue on the ballot, spending $55,000. Good evening.
Thank you, Speaker. If we could have the next speaker.
Before I start, could I ask where the other 2 council members are?
We have one council member that's attending remotely. That's Councilmember Sasai, and Mayor Pro Tem Murphy is absent this evening.
Okay, and where are they at when they're remotely? Are they at home or
They're attending a work event, actually, a work conference.
outside of the state then?
That's correct.
Okay. Good evening, Council. Tonight is a continuation of the last council meeting. I am also going to draw your attention to what others have said in the community. However, I'm pretty sure it isn't the attention you may want. Here are some excerpts from comments made on Nextdoor by community members. These were written shortly after your decision to put an elected mayor on the ballot. Last night was very hard and sad to see this was pre-planned and how they were going to vote. I appreciate Norma Rubin Martinez and Maureen Toms for their questions and their vocal no's to this proposed expense. The speakers all asked to not accept the expense and stop what has worked for 100 years. Everything how it was going was already in place. The Pinole citizens weren't heard, but were actually unheard. They have already determined that they want to end a rotating mayor and pay to have an election of close to $60,000 of taxpayer money. They determined that the mayor can be 2 or 4 year terms. The city attorney presented us with city comparisons, several cities like Union City, Newark, comparing city size. We are small, 20,000 people, compared to Newark's, whose population is approximately 46,000. The way they came up with comparisons is not correct. The city attorney didn't have a lot of answers to our questions. 3 of the council members who pushed for this special election were Devin Murphy, Cameron Sasai, and Anthony Tave. I worked on the campaign for Cameron and Devin, but have been out of the loop for 18 months. I see what I've missed. As citizens of Pinole, I or we lay complacent. This is what happens behind the closed doors. Do we want this for our city? Pinole residents, you need to call, email, visit City Hall, whatever it takes to get your message out there. If we all just lay down, just like last night, they, Devin, Anthony, and Cameron, walked all over the citizens of Pinole. We need our roads fixed. We need our city to be ADA compliant. The next one is, so far I have not read one good reason to change the system to an elected mayor. I like the current arrangement. Council members meet as equals and must work with cooperation and compromise in the best interest of the community. Each council member serves a term as mayor, knowing any pet agenda will not gain much traction. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Speaker. If we can have the next speaker.
We have Jennifer Horn, followed by Kent Moriarty and Ann Moriarty.
Good evening, Council. I am going to continue the readings that we had 2 weeks ago, and these are the emails that you guys received. I think they're part of your packet. So can you start my clock over? I was just giving a little intro. No. Okay, here I go. Dear City Council members, this is from Jacqueline Nostaja. Please vote no, in caps, on this item number 10A, currently listed on the City Council agenda scheduled for February 3rd, 2026. The City of Pinole does not need a full-time and fully paid mayor to manage our city. I don't see how a dedicated mayor will improve the safety and lives of Pinole's citizens. In fact, it could hurt more people, depending on the authoritarian nature of this individual, the increased budget, and more staff hours required to establish a mayor. There'll be less funding to take care of infrastructure needs. I don't appreciate that the city wants to spend money to fund a ballot measure before all of the details are known, mostly budget and level of control and power, and what impact there will be on city and its citizens. It is frivolous to spend tens of thousands of dollars to see if the citizens want a dedicated mayor. There are a number of less expensive ways to ask residents about their opinion on this topic. If a majority of people like the idea, then reconsider including it on the November 2026 ballot, since some of you may be running for re-election. In bold, she wrote, "In the future, I will vote no to re-elect any council member who votes yes to establish a special election for the June 2026 ballot. Thank you for your consideration." This is another from Jonathan B. Jarvis. I'm writing in opposition to the proposed ballot measure to change the Pinole mayor position to elected versus a rotation of elected city council members. Having worked in government for more than 40 years, I can offer a few insights on soft power versus hard power. An old adage of the government is, if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. I've seen nothing broken about the current system. The city functions efficiently through elected city council, the professional staff, guided by the input of citizens. A rotating mayor is the height of democracy, as power is shared among the city council, and no one council member can rule over the others. Pinole is a small city in the much larger Bay Area, and I, for one, appreciate the access to the city council and the city staff to propose and discuss issues. I have witnessed strong authoritarian-style governance, and it rarely serves the public well. The public are left with the only recourse to just wait till the next election or seek an expensive and ugly recall. The question really is about soft power versus hard power. As we are witnessing in the federal government, hard power, unchecked, can have serious consequences to the public, and I am a survivor of that. Hard power generally serves only the individual and a selected few. Successful soft power leaders work to build their skills of collaboration, communication, teamwork, active listening, and consensus building. The question really is, what will...
Thank you, Speaker. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Kent Moriarty. There were a lot of letters sent to the council opposing this proposal to have an elected mayor, and we spent last week reading them, and this week, and I think we're only partially through. It's going to take a lot of reading to get through all these letters. This one is from Jody Ingalls, a Pinole resident. She says, "Council, I voice my opposition to Agenda Item 10A, resolution calling for a special election and submitting questions regarding office of elected mayor to voters. It is not a question of whether or not the citizens of Pinole want an elected mayor. The question is, first is whether or not they want to spend $37,000 to $55,000 estimated to find out if they want an elected mayor, especially when this question could be included in the already scheduled poll and not cost them anything. It is financially irresponsible to spend taxpayers' money in this manner. You're not actually listening to the residents of Pinole if you think they want to spend their money on this. I worry about how this will shape the future of Pinole government in the future. Will the mayor position attract up-and-coming politicians to serve 1 or 2 terms on their way to higher positions? Individuals who have no real ties to the city and do not plan to make Pinole their permanent home? I could go on, but I know I will only echo what others have said or will say on this matter. I have not encountered one person who is in favor of this. As an example, there are 15 houses on my small street. each with 2 potential voters. Of those 30 people, 12 people, including myself, that I've spoken with are opposed to this. All 12 Pinole voters that I am in a book club with are opposed to this, most of which attended the January 20th council meeting and will be attending tonight or sending their opposition. I urge you not to put the question on the June ballot nor any ballot. Please spend your energy on Pinole taxpayers money on more pressing matters that will actually make a difference in the lives of the people who live here. Sincerely, Jody Ingalls. I guess I won't run out of time, but there's a lot more letters that will need to be read here.
Thank you, Speaker. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Ann Moriarty, Pinole resident, continuing with the emails from the previous week. Council, I am urging you all to vote against placing the mayor question on the ballot. $56,000 to just ask the question. Take a look at social media. One, a single voice in favor, and that person lives in Hercules. Several thousand hits on posts on this topic. Your constituents are watching. Stop the unending parade of increasing the cost of living in Pinole. Have you noticed that affordability is the national outcry? Have you noticed that the fight against the consolidation of executive power is at the heart of every protest on the streets of our country? Pay heed to the voice of the people you represent. Janet Wilkes. I would like to voice my strong opposition to the City Council's move to establish an elected mayor for the city of Pinole, which allows for a concentration of power in one individual. I have seen the negative impact that one individual council member during their term as mayor can have on the operations of the city and the city staff. With our current system, such a negative impact is not able to grow roots, and no single individual can make a power grab as the mayoral title shifts each year. With a rotating mayor, we benefit from a diverse representation, bringing fresh ideas and perspectives each year. The added expense of putting this to a vote in a special election is spending money we should be putting towards city priorities. Next, I vote no on agenda item 10A, Melanie Norton. Next, to whom it may concern, please vote no on 10A, no need for a direct mayor election. Thank you, Nancy Andrina, Pinole resident. Next, dear City Council, please mark my objection to the idea of changing how we elect a mayor. Keep mayor rotation as it is. Thank you, Noreen Buller, Realtor, Security Pacific Real Estate Brokerage. Next, I would like to express my opposition to the proposal that we, the citizens of Pinole, begin the process to have an elected mayor system for Pinole. Please enter my attached comments into the public record. Thank you, Paula Jarvis, citizen of Pinole. Next, I have been a Pinole resident for over 25 years and have found that the governing system we have has worked fine. It makes no sense to have a paid position for mayor. We are not a large city. Other cities our size do not have a paid mayor. Why do we need one? With the belt tightening going on in the economy, including in the city finances, why would the council think this is a good idea? Please do not move forward with this plan. I do not support it. Perrette Johnston. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Are there any other speakers?
Yes, Kathy McFarland.
Good evening. I had a very informative meeting last month with the city's finance director and the public works director to go over the long-term list of questions about finances and projects. The adopted budget for 2024-2025 authorized revenues totaling $49.7 million and expenditures totaling $96.1 million. The budget projection assumed that the net use of fund balance of $46.3 million for all funds combined. This is not a balanced budget, it is a financial disaster plan. Retained fund balances at this rate are depleted and gone. I was told that these expenditures were for a 5-year plan, yet the adopted budget states it's for 2024. Let us be told the truth and be accurate about the figures represented. The original road maintenance budget for 2024-2025 through many different funds were over 11 million seven, yet only 1.6 million, I'm just rounding the figures, was actually spent. The 2025-2026 budget has over 8 million, and at 6 months, the total actually spent is only 769,000. This adds up to over $17 million not currently spent in the last year and a half. The Public Works Director indicated there was limited funds currently to fix the roads as planned, but never did answer my question as to where the money went. Are we robbing Peter to pay Paul is my assumption. The reason the finance director gave during the meeting about not wanting to put an elected mayor item on the November ballot was deceptive and just unfounded excuses. Let me quote her. Adding another measure would make the survey much longer, could cause survey fatigue and skew the survey results, and 4 measures would push the limits and change the scope of work. We, the residents, are tax fatigued, and the waste of the money for this self-serving June survey is appalling. The consistent 3-2 majority vote is clearly sending red flags that our community and the city need to pay attention to and to address. Each and every resident needs to come together and scrutinize and question each and every action and item that is being presented. We need to preserve our city and to stop the city of Pinole's mindset that we are their open financial wallets for whatever they want. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Next speaker, please.
Do we have any online comments?
Yes, we have Richard Kossel.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, fantastic. My name is Richard Kossel. I am a resident, citizen of Pinole, and I would like to introduce to you what I call the pothole theory of governance. And the pothole theory of governance is that potholes are there so that they are not fixed, because if you fix them, then you can't ask for more money. So that's the whole purpose of potholes. Not fixing them is because you can ask for more money. And the reason why I say that is because I received in the mail a rebate form or card. It's like, wait, rebate? How is the city of Pinole paying for a rebate? It's like, where is this money coming from? We're broke. It's like, okay, I have to go take a look. And I found, wait, the source is for related to $250,000 in public works weatherization. It's like, wait, what? And then there was a $65,000 professional services for Strategic Energy Institute partnerships. I said, wait a second, where's that money coming from? Oh, there's a Measure S in 2014. These are for a half-cent sales tax for general purpose Pinole. And the purpose of that was for police, fire, and maintenance of parks and streets. Okay, so we voted a half-cent sales tax for police, fire, maintenance of parks and streets, and I'm getting this card is associated with that. So what happens is that you get us to give you money for the potholes, and then you take from that pile and you use it for your little special projects. So I said, wait a second, what other things are you using mine or our money for that is not associated with police, fire, and parks and streets? Is like a $40,000 DEI consulting? What? 25,000 safety updates, include $50K for inclusionary housing nexus study, $14,000 for a Pride event, $5,000 for Earth Day, $3,000 for United Against Hate Week. Look, guys, you're wasting money. You are wasting money, and my mind is blown. And vote no on the separate mayor. Vote no. Vote no. You're not going to fix anything.
Okay. Thank you, Speaker. Next speaker, please.
There are no more public comments.
Okay, that's going to conclude public comment. Our first public comment. The next item on our agenda is reports and communications. First, we have the mayor's report. Nothing to report. We'll just move on to 7B, mayoral and council appointments. Let's see. I think we have none. Yeah, we have none. And then 7C, city council committee reports and communications. Councilmember Martinez Rubin, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Tate. So since we last met,
Oh, I'm sorry. Procedurally, we're good? Okay. Yeah, sorry, Councilmember Martinez Rubin. Go ahead.
okay, committee reports or announcements. Since we last met in council, a number of the events that I attended were some you also did, so please add to what I have to say. The mayor's conference that was held on March 5th had a representative from, I didn't jot it down, but I believe from a state hospital, the State Hospital Council, an organization representing hospitals. He essentially gave a very dire report on the state of hospitals in California. And by dire, I mean that to many of the issues that he considered being somewhat intractable at this point because of federal cuts, that there weren't any answers, too much unknown. I found that a bit disheartening because a lot of what has been known for decades is that when there is a reduction in hospital services or clinical services, if they are funded federally and or by the state, it affects the populations which to a large extent have always been disproportionately either represented or affected, and greater health disparities occur. So I'm hopeful that the mayors will continue to bring that point up, that there is something known with regard to the effects on hospitals, whether they be public or private. And I believe, Mayor Tave, you brought up a point with regard to how much does the taxpayers contribute in California relative to what they get. So perhaps you can expound on that later when you report. I also attended something unrelated to that altogether, but relative to the younger generation here. We were invited as council members to read to children in our local elementary schools, and I got to do that at Stewart Elementary, joining the third grade class there of teacher Nicola Hupa. So shout out to Nicola Hupa's class at Stewart Elementary and for their interest in reading the novel, which they shared with me, titled The Wild Robot, which talks about adapting to the environment, both interspecies and same species, but there are analogies to be drawn as to how we interact with each other. So that was an interesting read. As recently as last week, some of us council members joined our police officers, to honor 2025 Officer of the Year on Officer Andre Roberts. And with Chief Calhoun, we celebrated the good work that he and his peers do on both years when they are honored and years when they are not honored, but continually to have us be safe in our city. So thank you very much for that privilege of sharing a table with you over dinner. Last week, some of us attended the State of the City, and our mayor had a report to give about the state of our city, starting off with we're doing well, and I hope that as we continue discussions, we actually describe what well means. There were a number of different accomplishments that the city has had over the years. Those are presented in a report that our former city manager put together with a look ahead in 25 and 26 and activities and other kinds of initiatives to be conducted through the fiscal year that ends in June of this year. But there are other things to be done, among them that we go through budget discussions, keeping in mind the different needs that there are and the basic needs that cities have to attend to in light of the situation that we find ourselves in generally in the state of the world and how that's affecting our economy. So additional to those meetings, the WestCAD board had its meeting on March 12th. I was there, and there's an example of how the public transportation system, at least the buses that run through our city and connect with BART, can be affected with the state of the world right now, in that fuel is one of the larger expenses that our West Cab buses have and that agency has. It's not only that agency, but it's peer agencies in the area. And so it remains to be seen how much more we will be asked as residents, as taxpayers, to make our interest in public transportation heard by voting one way or another in measures that are expected to show up in the November 2026 ballot. So keep your eye out on those measures. There are pluses and minuses to having requests of funds for public transportation and other initiatives that are public, but it does require an informed citizenry to understand why certain measures are on the ballots, including those that are local as well as those that are regional. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Martinez-Rubin. Councilmember Thoms, please go ahead.
Thank you. Before I start, I want to wish everybody a happy Irish Heritage Month and a happy St. Patrick's Day. We're still meeting on a holiday. Anyway, I just wanted to mention, I also attended the mayor's conference, and one of the highlights that I see is that the hospital desert that West County has been experiencing is likely to move to Central and East County and other parts of California. There's really a risk, and having to for family members that have needed emergency services over the last month and a half, we have found that Richmond can turn away emergency services for members, Kaiser members, and in 2 cases, we have traveled to Vallejo for those emergency services. So it is a very dire need with the federal budget. I also attended the dinner where we honored Officer Andre Roberts, and this dinner is sponsored by the Elks Club, and they honor officers through all the cities in West Contra Costa County as well as the Sheriff's Department. So we do have a lot of individuals that enter police service, and we'd like to honor them all, but we were able to pick out one per jurisdiction, and it's definitely worthwhile and very inspiring. I also attended the State of the City breakfast sponsored by the Bayfront Chamber last week, where we heard updates from our mayor, Tave, the mayor of Hercules, and Supervisor Chanel Scales Preston, who gave us an update on county budget issues as well as Rodeo. Yesterday, the Bayfront Chamber met, and just to highlight a couple of events coming up is this Sunday, there's an event sponsored by the Bayfront Chamber called Bottles and Bites. It's going to be in Hercules. It's a Sunday afternoon from like noon to 3, and it's a fundraiser for education and for the chamber. There will be a spring mega mixer for businesses. Both chamber members and non-members can attend. That's going to be at the Berkeley Country Club on April 21st. And then I also wanted to mention the partnership that Law Enforcement Torch Run has with Special Olympics. We'll have an event tomorrow. It's going to be at Hercules Swim Center, and it's the Polar Plunge. And on social media, there has been a link for sponsoring any of the participants to go ahead and take the plunge. This Thursday, I will be attending the ABAG Executive Committee meeting, and I will be taking Lynx bus from Hercules to right across the street from the building. So I'm looking forward to that. On Friday, I'll be attending the eBricks meeting. We meet every other month to discuss emergency radio systems for both police and fire. And so that's happening in Dublin on Friday. And then next Wednesday, we will be meeting the East Bay Wildfire Government Coalition. We're going to be meeting in Berkeley next week. We typically meet in El Cerrito, but because they have some upgrades happening at the chambers, at the council chambers in El Cerrito, we're going to be meeting in Berkeley. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Councilmember Toms. Councilmember Sasai.
Thanks, Mayor. Hope everyone's having a great March. I'll just report out from my committees first. So I attended the most recent WestCat board meeting this month, and we had a closed session item. We conducted the general manager's performance evaluation, and the reportable action was to extend his employment. So our GM has been highly engaged, responsive, effective in his role, and we look forward to continuing the work with him for years to come. We also reviewed WestCat's procurement policy, specifically the general manager's purchasing authority. Previously, the purchasing authority for the GM was set at $40,000. He vocalized that it created some challenges when time-sensitive purchases were needed without the ability to convene the board quickly and in time. So after discussion and based on historical usage that he provided, the board approved an increase to $70,000, which I believe strikes a balance between efficiency and appropriate oversight, rather than just basing the purchasing authority on an arbitrary number. The staff report recommended $100,000, which was more in line with neighboring transit agencies across Contra Costa County. But I think the board felt that the increase of more than 2 times the current amount was way too much. And so secondly, I'll report out that I'm currently attending the National League of Cities Conference here in Washington, D.C., representing Pinole. And it has been a really valuable opportunity to stay informed on federal funding opportunities and evolving requirements, particularly as policies shift at the national level, which it is a lot this year. One area that I found especially impactful and will be, I think, directly useful for our city was a discussion around opioid settlement funds. So there are cities across the country who have been using these resources in innovative ways, developing programs focused on prevention, education, and really addressing the root causes of overdoses. And I look forward to bringing those best practices, that information back to our community and having future conversations with staff and at the dais about that funding. Finally, tomorrow I will be meeting personally with Congressman Garamendi and his staff to advocate for federal funding on behalf of and to bring back to our city. In particular, we are requesting support for the acquisition of rapid deploy crash-resistant safety barricades in partnership with the City of Hercules. This investment would significantly enhance safety at our community events, such as the car show, holiday tree lighting, any events that we have where we have to have a road closure, by preventing unauthorized vehicles access into pedestrian areas. And so in addition to strengthening public safety and helping us avoid tragedies, these barricades would also reduce the need for extensive staffing during road closures, ultimately lowering operational costs while improving our overall event readiness and safety for our community. So I just want to thank our staff for their strong work in preparing that request and continuing to prioritize the safety and well-being of our residents here in Pinole. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Sasai. So we'll move on to item 7D, council requests for future agenda items. Do I see any requests? Councilmember Sasai? Can't see. Okay, doesn't look like there's any requests for future agenda items. We'll move on to 7E, City Manager Report. Interim City Manager Evans, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank the mayor and the city council, staff, and the community for the warm welcome to the wonderful city of Pinole. Staff is working on a myriad of capital improvement projects, developments, agreements, budgets, and events. It is a true honor to be working with Team Pinole, and I look forward to the next several months as you all recruit and appoint a new city manager. This concludes the city manager's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Interim City Manager Evans. Welcome aboard. We'll go ahead and move to item 7F, City Attorney Report.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to report at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, so next on the agenda are proclamations. So we will be reading proclamations. That's 8A. on our agenda, and we'll start with Day of Nowruz proclamation. Whereas Nowruz in Persian means new day, marks the verbal equinox and the beginning of spring, and is about celebrating renewal, connecting with loved ones, and honoring nature. And whereas Nowruz begins precisely at the vernal equinox on the first day of spring, usually between March 19th and March 22nd, when the days and nights are equal lengths, with days then becoming longer, signifying the arrival of warmer weather. And whereas this year, Nowruz falls on Friday, March 20th, 2026. And
Whereas Nowruz is the beginning of the year for the people of Afghanistan, Azerbaijan, Iran, Tajikistan, and a few of the Asian republics in the former Soviet Union. It is also celebrated as the new year by people descended from Persian and Iranian ancestors. The Kurds in Georgia, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey celebrate Nowruz as the New Year festival. Many communities where people from these countries have settled also join in the celebrations. And
whereas it is a time of great joy and family celebrations that are shared by people of all faiths in many countries and traces its history back through the centuries to the ancient Mesopotamian civilization and the Persian Empire. And whereas it is mankind's oldest known holiday and is still celebrated by more than 300 million people around the world, it celebrates the triumph of hope over despair and promotes values of peace and solidarity between generations and within families. And
whereas Nowruz is also a celebration of humanity's rich cultural heritage and diversity, a chance for all of us to be guided by its values of peace, dialogue, and solidarity, to reaffirm our commitment to human rights and dignity, to promote mutual respect and reconciliation, to protect the planet and live in harmony with nature. And whereas, as a holiday that reflects on leaving behind the challenges of the past year while embracing hope for the future, the spirit of Nowruz continues to inspire us to foster compassion, unity, and peace.
now therefore, I, Anthony Tave, Mayor of the City of Pinole, County of Contra Costa, State of California, do hereby proclaim March 20th, 2026 as Day of Nowruz in the City of Pinole, and encourages all citizens to choose hope and compassion, embrace the opportunities that lie ahead, and work together to build a more peaceful, sustainable, and inclusive world for all. All right. And today we have Mr. Hausheng Pakpor to receive the proclamation.
Thank you very much in behalf of all the Iranian American in California and United States. I really appreciate every year you do this since Mayor Vincent Salimi started that. Thank you, really. It's very pleasure and honor for me to get it. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Okay, we'll move on to International Women's History Day. All right. Whereas International Women's Day is celebrated globally on March 8th by those who believe in gender equality and who speak to improve the lives of all women through cultural, legal, economic, and social change. And whereas women of every race, class, nationality, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our world in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. And whereas women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of the life of the world by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. And
whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which creates a fair and just society for all. And whereas women continue to lead as advocates for reproductive rights, champions of racial justice, and LGBTQI plus equality. And
whereas women have served our country courageously in the military and locally in law enforcement. Whereas the theme for Women's History Month in 2026 is Leading the Change, Women Shaping a Sustainable Future. And whereas locally, women have played a key role in the city of Pinole's history as leaders in the community, in our schools and universities, as appointees and elected officials, and as staff at City Hall. And
whereas despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history, and whereas the city supports further sustainable changes in women's and girls' well-being and advancement.
Now, therefore, I, Anthony Tave, Mayor of the City of Pinole, Contra Costa County, State of California, on behalf of the City Council and the City of Pinole, proudly recognize March 8th, 2026 as International Women's History Day and March 2026 as Women's History Month, and call on all citizens to celebrate the exceptional women in their lives and around our country. Thank you, everybody. Okay, next on the agenda are the presentations. Director Guillory, please go ahead. I think we have item 8B, HDL Market Analytics Report.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For our guest to join, he should be online.
I'm here.
Hi, Barry. Okay, so
Hi.
before I turn the presentation over to Barry Foster of HDL, the City Council directed staff to engage HDL to develop an updated market analytics report. This was originally put together by HDL in 2019, and so this is an update since that report. So with that, I will turn it over to Barry.
Thank you. I'm happy to be before you tonight and have the opportunity to hit some of the high points in the market analytics package. My name is Barry Foster. I'm a principal and managing director for HDL Companies. I started up our economic development division almost 12 years ago. So can you go to the next slide, please? And I encourage the council members to go and look at the complete report. I think Markeisha can give that to you, and just look at it. But I just hit some of the high points in the PowerPoint. So when we're looking at the demographic profile, we're looking at the city of Pinole as a whole. But then more importantly, we're also looking at the trade area. And so when retailers, restaurants, other businesses are looking for a new location, potentially they're not looking just at the city of Pinole, but the broader trade area. So we used a 10-minute drive time and a 15-minute drive time. We also have your daytime population, households. Average age for Pinole is fairly similar to both your trade areas. You have a very strong household, average household income level in Pinole of over 155,000, a little bit higher than if you look at the 10-minute drive and 15-minute drive time. You can see the breakdown of white collar versus blue collar And then you can also see the college degree and above. And so these are all really strong numbers, and I think something that you can build upon when you're looking at new retail opportunities, new restaurant opportunities, new business opportunities. And then we also have just a breakdown of race, ethnic race. And again, you're a very, very diverse community. I think that's important. You can see the folks that are working in Pinole, and then also with a 10-minute drive time and 15-minute drive time with employment. Can you go to the next slide, please? So I encourage you to go back and look at the entire report, because this is probably one of the most important pieces of that. It shows consumer demand and market supply, an assessment of that. And so if you look at it, we just hit the top ones here. There's a significant amount of leakage that people either don't have the opportunity to spend their money in Pinole, or they're going someplace else to spend that money. Anything really over 30% is some pretty good leakage. The ones here that are shown, they're quite a bit of leakage. And so you can see how much people in Pinole are spending in these categories. And then most importantly, how much is leaking out, and then the percentage of that leakage. Again, all these are over 90%. And if you go down, look at the full report, you've got a lot going down at kind of that 30% leakage, which is some pretty good leakage. I always look at the kind of the glass half full. This is lost sales tax revenue for you, but if you're looking to try to recruit new retail and new restaurant users, this is kind of the glass half full. This is opportunity. People are spending their money in these categories, and for whatever reason, they're not able to spend it there in Pinole, or they're spending their money outside the community, and that's lost sales tax revenue. Next one. So we put together a list, and we do work all over the state of California, and so we kind of track what retailers and restaurants are looking for in terms of a market area, a site, the kind of the demographics that they're looking for, and all those kinds of things. And we have a software tool that we can show where the nearest location for. I think we've got to be in our database. They've got to have at least 8 locations or more in California. So it's not picking up the mom and pops, but picking up those folks that are more the regional and national folks. But so we can see where the nearest location to Pinole is, and look to see. And again, there's an opportunity, I think, with a number of these retailers, restaurants that I think would be good fits with Pinole. And so, again, the full report shows that, but it also breaks down and shows contact people, what size they're looking for, all those kinds of things, what kind of sales tax they produce annually. Our company has about 98% of all the sales tax data for Southern California, for California, for businesses that produce sales tax, because we have them for sales tax clients. Next slide. And then so we take a lot of that of the market analytics package, and we put it into a community profile, and I encourage you to do that. I think Pinole's been really good about putting the community profile, the void analysis, and the market analytics package on your website. Folks that are looking for opportunities to come to a community, they're using websites, and so they're trying to look at opportunities. And so we take a lot of the market analytics that are in that package, and then we condense it down to about a 4-page summary that's real kind of easy to read and understand. And you can put that up on your website for people that might be looking for new business opportunities in a community like Pinole. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, we'll move to questions.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Martinez-Rubin, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Foster, for your presentation. Some
Sure.
cities have economic development assistance to small businesses, which are usually your family-run businesses, because they find it difficult to have capital to cover some of their expenses at startup, especially those, for them, some of the permits associated with coming into into a city or into an area and related ancillary expenses. But I'm thinking now, if you could give us some insight as to the larger businesses, some of the ones that you have listed on the page that reads void retail opportunities are franchises. So they're part of a national, bigger, what I imagine is a bigger source of funding. So what are, outside of potential subsidies or reductions, if it's at all possible by any city, with regard to permit expenses, what do the larger businesses ordinarily find attractive, and thus have them consider a city being, quote, business friendly?
Yeah, I don't know that the big ones are looking so much for financial assistance. I think they're looking more at, trying to get through the process easily, and have the city kind of really work with them and welcome them to look at sites and opportunities and all that. I know that I will be in Monterey in the third week in March. They have the International Council of Shopping Centers have an event there every year, and it's kind of Northern California. And I usually go there, and I'm representing probably 5 or 6 or 7 cities, looking at opportunities to match cities and locations with possible retail and restaurant users. With more of the small business that you talked about, Councilmember, we've worked with the city of Hercules next door, actually, and they have a program that they just renewed some funding for. So they have up to $50,000 grant to really help with some of those startup costs and infrastructure and some of, TIs and all those kinds of things that a small business especially is going to struggle with. And I know that in the past, we did some work with Pinole, but I know you've used EFD. It's a digital gift card company that's been pretty effective all over the state in terms of working with small businesses on a digital gift card program. And those programs are really important, especially for small businesses. They're not for the big companies, the Walmarts and the Home Depots. It's more for those mom and pops, the restaurants, the boutique retail. But I think would be a good kind of fit for, and it has been in the past, for Pinole.
Mr. Foster, I was actually asking about the larger businesses, larger ones, and perhaps we can, if you could ask, perhaps provide some insights about the mid-size, those between the mom and pop and the larger ones, which you gave examples of, are require a much bigger footprint than we probably have here in Pinole. So somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. So again, I think it's a lot of that is just working with them to find opportunities for them in Pinole. And again, it's going to take the right kind of footprint, the right kind of market, and all those kinds of things. And again, I think they're looking for the same kinds of things. They want to get things a little bit easy for them to get through the process and get entitlements and permits and all those kinds of things. You could even take kind of what Hercules does for small businesses, and that could even apply for some of those mid-sized cities or mid-sized businesses too.
Okay, so you emphasize opportunities twice, and you preface the first time with site. Are we talking about physical locations?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Toms?
Yeah, I want to refer to the slide on void retail opportunities. How do you collect that data? Is it by zip codes from these particular businesses showing that the customers are from Pinole, or is it an estimate? Could you describe that?
Yeah, so again, our database is using about, I think we've got like 4,000 businesses that are in that database. And it's a software that will then, we can pick a location like Pinole, and then we can go out and see within the nearest locations that these stores have, and to see if there's a void where they might be interested. But we're also going to look at what we think would be some kind of good fits in terms of possible building spaces, footprints, all those kinds of things. It's kind of our best guesstimate of what we think would be some good fits for Pinole in the marketplace that you have.
Okay, so do you look, for instance, where is it? There's something about Dick's Sporting Goods, but then we also have Big Five. So, I'm just kind of curious if you look at similar businesses as far as determining if that is indeed a void.
Yeah, so the consumer demand and market supply assessment showed that there was still a significant amount of dollars that Pinole residents are spending on sporting goods, and it's going outside the community. I'm very familiar with Big Five. Big Five's was just purchased by another company. They're not really growing right now. It's a much smaller footprint than Dick's. Dick's is, Big Five is probably more like 12 to 15,000 square feet, where a Dick's is more like 40,000 square feet.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
Councilmember Sasai, please go ahead. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Question on the same slide around the retailers. One of the things I'm looking here is in getting this list together. Did you also consider the demographics of residents of Pinole and those in surrounding areas?
Yes.
Everything from economic diversity, racial ethnic diversity, and their trends.
Yeah, that's all part of the market analytics package that we have.
Yeah, great.
And so as we're looking at what we think would be good fits and good opportunities for your market and your trade area.
Thank you.
And I encourage you to take a look at the full report, because for that void analysis especially, it's going to show much more than what I have in that PowerPoint slide. It's going to show what their footprint is. It's going to show potential for sales tax revenue. It's going to show a contact for them, and kind of what kind of locations they want to be in. They want to be in a power center. They want to be in a community shopping center. They want to be in a neighborhood shopping center. Do they want to do standalone? And so some preferences in terms of the kind of development they like.
Yeah, thank you for that. And there's a few here that seems duplicative, like Total Wine and More. We have Bevmo. It's maybe folks go outside to nearest one is what Martinez, Concord, around the area. Yeah. Same thing with Ono Hawaiian Barbecue. We have L&L Hawaiian Barbecue out there in Fitzgerald Drive. But again, this is the data. What's the data showing us? So I appreciate the presentation here.
And the reason that they're on there is because we think they would be a good fit, but also because there's a lot of leakage in those categories.
Councilmember Sasai?
That's my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, we can't see you on the screen, so I'm going to go ahead and try to just signal you. So my questions, one of the percentages that jumped out at me was the lawn, garden, equipment supply store, and us having, since 2019, the Ace hardware store coming in. It would have seemed that it wouldn't be 100%, as noted on, I want to say slide 3. It shows that 100% of that is leaving. Is that the way I'm reading?
There's also a category for hardware, and so they may fall into that. Sometimes it really kind of depends on what that business is reporting in terms of their business category.
Oh, I see.
Sometimes they may put them in the wrong category.
Got it. And then I saw Tractor Supply on here. But one of the shocking numbers, and I mean, I know this is true for my household outside of Nordstrom Rack and a couple of the clothing stores, but a lot of times we're shopping outside, either in Concord or Richmond, and moving around the Bay, or really moving around Pinole for clothing stores. Are we really looking at $17.8 million leaving Pinole? Yep. Is that what we're showing?
Yep.
Kind of staggering. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, there's some of those categories that are up there, above 90%, up to 100. That and so we're looking at the percentage, but we're also looking at really how many dollars are being spent, and then most importantly, how much is leaking out.
Wow. Okay. The last question was. second one, how do we get clothing stores? That's one thing. City manager? Oh, no, go ahead. I saw you kind of signaling.
Yes, sir. What I was,
If you have an answer, please let me.
actually,
17 million.
through the mayor, that is something that I look forward to working with the community development director to look at the available spaces and property that are in Pinole, looking at the leakage, comparing that data, and really what I've seen in my 30 years is, available staff for the developers or the businesses looking to come in, time to market, and you have to balance that when you do have certain incentive programs, especially for the smaller businesses. Sometimes the prevailing wage issue can become a bit of a challenge. So you weigh all of those, and we will look at how can we capture some of this leakage. Now you do have Amazon and Walmart and other things that are causing some of that leakage as well, so it does add to it. But I do look forward to working with our community development team to see how we can capture some of that back.
Great. No, that's great to hear. I just kind of looking at it, it was a large number. The last question was for the director. I'm trying to search the website for the full report. Is that something that maybe we could post? It doesn't look like it's on the website.
It's not there yet, so we will make sure to get those out to the council and post them on the website.
Great. Okay.
Mayor, one more question.
One more question. Councilmember Martinez.
Thank you. One more question for Mr. Foster. Mr. Foster, the opportunity gap, the slide with the opportunity gaps and the listing of I imagine retail shops by type. Does your report, whether it's on these pages that we have here as slide pages or the full report, take into account online sales by category of product?
Yes, it would be in that opportunity number. It's whatever is not being spent physically within the city of Pinole. It's what's leaking out, and that would include internet online sales.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so seeing no more questions, we'll go to public comment for this presentation. Are there any public comment?
There's no public comments.
Okay, bringing it back to council for any further comment. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to item B2 for presentation. 8B2, Pinole traffic-related incidents. Chief?
I'll fill in here a little bit while they
please,
down.
interim city manager.
Really do want to just thank the chief and her team for pulling this information together, and we're looking forward to the report as it comes forward now.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Melissa Clavoon, our police chief, and with me this evening I have Commander Justin Rogers, who oversees our Operations Bureau, and Officer Franco Delau, who is our newest traffic officer. So all together, we are here to present some data to you. We were last here on July 15th to provide similar data for the first half of 2025. This report will be the data from the second half of 2025, so July through the end of December. And there'll be some comparisons so that you can see kind of some trends with our traffic-related incidents. Next slide, please. So just looking at the second half of 2025, we had a total of 58 collisions. 17 of those collisions had injuries, no fatal collisions. We had 4 collisions that were DUI related. We had 42 non-injury collisions, and we had 6 vehicle versus pedestrian collisions. And you'll see on this table that they are broken down by the month in that 6-month period of time. Of the 6 vehicle versus pedestrian collisions, 4 of them did have injuries and 2 of them were non-injury collisions. We also did not have any fatal incidents in 2025. For the previous 3 years, in 2022, 2023, and 2024, we did have 1 fatal incident per year. Next slide, please. So this next chart shows a comparison between the first 6 months of 2025 and the second 6 months. So the blue column, that represents January through June, and that was the data that we reported out in July. And the second column shows July through December. So you'll see total collisions in January through June, we had 64 compared to 58 for the second half of the year. Collisions with injury, we had 7 for the first half of the year, and we had 17 for the second half of the year. No fatal collisions for either half of 2025. Our DUI collisions went down from 9 DUI collisions in the first half of the year to 4 DUI collisions in the second half of the year. The non-injury collisions went down slightly from 56 to 42, and the vehicle versus pedestrian collisions went from 4 in the first half of 2025 to 6 in the second half of 2025. One thing to note that we will also talk about a little bit later in this presentation, is that in December of 2025, we hosted a DUI checkpoint, and that was part of our OTS grant. It's widely publicized, and the idea with publicizing that kind of checkpoint so prevalently is to hopefully deter some of the DUIs that we have. Next slide, please. So last time when we gave the report, we talked about some primary collision factors that we see most frequently with these types of collisions. So the first column is unsafe turning movements, and you can see it went up slightly between January, or the first half of the year and the second. The second set of data is for DUIs. The third is unsafe speed for the conditions. Next, you have red light violations that went up in the second half of the year, unsafe starting or backing, and failing to maintain a lane. So those are the primary collision factors that we saw in those collisions, and comparing the first half of the year in blue to the second half of the year in orange. Next slide, please. So of the 58 collisions that we had in the second half of 2025, half of them occurred at intersections. So we had, or over half, 29 of those collisions occurred at intersections, and you can see them broken down. Intersections with San Pablo Avenue, all other intersections, and intersections on Appian Way. So 20 of 58 collisions occurred on either Appian or San Pablo Avenue in the intersections. Next slide, please. And this shows you a heat map of those areas of collision. The map on the left is from the first half of the year, and the map on the right is from the second half of the year. And you'll see that, again, just reflecting on those main arteries, San Pablo Avenue, we have a cluster of collisions that occur both near the Appian area and the Pinole Valley Road area. And then up, we reported this last time as well, there's a number of collisions that occur up on Fitzgerald, and those are generally slow speed collisions that occur in the parking lot area. The map on the left has some of the darker points more concentrated, and that's because we did have more collisions in the first half of the year as a whole. Next slide, please. So a comparison of DUI cases that we had. The first half of the year, we had 12 arrests for DUI-related offenses, and they're broken down by month. And then in the second half of the year, we were up just slightly with 14 arrests for DUI-related offenses. And again, just to note, in December of 2025 was when we had our DUI checkpoint as well. And during that month, we had 4 arrests. Next slide, please. This table shows total traffic citations over a six-month comparison. And again, the blue is for the first half of the year and the orange is for the second half of the year. And sorry, the numbers are a little difficult to read, but they were very close in total traffic stops versus citations. You can see in the second half of the year, we had 1,342 total traffic stops in that 6-month period, resulting in 480 citations, which was down just slightly from the year before. And then it also shows what the majority of those citations were for, things like expired registration, headlight or tail light or brake lights, stop sign violations, speeding violations, unlicensed driver light violations, and red light violations. So one thing to note about the citations is we did have a period of time in the second half of the year for approximately 3 months where we did not have a traffic officer due to injury. So that did reduce our number of citations down. And I think I spoke of this at the last presentation, but vehicle collision data, some of which we're showing today with the maps, that can all be found on Citizen RIMS, which is on the police department's website. And so we encourage all of the community to go to Citizen RIMS, and the easiest way to get there is to go to pinole.citizenrims.com, and you can find traffic collision data. You can also find other data on crimes, and you can filter it by dates and see maps for that information. Next slide, please. So I'm going to pass it over to Commander Rogers so he can talk about the grants that we have received and the grants that we're working on as they result to our traffic enforcement.
Good evening. 2025, we requested an OTS grant for $129,000. We ended up getting awarded $50,000, which we've used. We're going to be using it. That is for DUI checkpoints, A-Ride, DRE, and SFST training, which is all related to impaired driving. We're also doing extra enforcement patrols. In fact, there was one today going on right now. DUI saturation patrols, distracted driving, and a pedestrian operation. With that, we did have some equipment that also came with that as related to the DUI checkpoint. We in 2025 requested also the cannabis grant through the CHP, and we applied for I think we asked for $99,000. We were actually awarded that in 2025. That allowed us to get a traffic motorcycle, do officer training for A-Ride and also DRE as it relates to impaired driving and driving under the influence of drugs and alcohol. We were also able to get other equipment such as signage for DUI checkpoints and impaired driving checkpoints. And this year, Officer Delau actually has completed 2 grants, one for this year's OTS and cannabis. We are asking for more equipment and more training. So if we're awarded those grants, it'll be a great help for us keeping our collision numbers down, and especially as it relates to impaired drivers.
And this photo shows the motorcycle that was purchased with the cannabis grant. So we are finishing upfitting that motorcycle, and it should be, you'll see Officer Delau on that motorcycle in the very near future. Next slide, please. And that ends our presentation, and we're here and available for questions.
Great. Okay, council members, any questions? Councilmember Thoms.
Sure. On slide 4, it looked like the primary factor for collisions was unsafe turning movements. Are you able to, tell us if those are, right turns on red primarily, or, are there repeat intersections where those happen? And yeah.
I'm just a traffic cop. Good evening. So with 22107, it's not going to be a lane change. They have a specific section for that. 22107 is just whenever you direct off your course of travel in an unsafe way is what it means. It could be a veer. It could be a variation of things, a veering off. It could be just you turned in the wrong direction, but you still stayed in your lane. So it's not necessarily an unsafe lane change because you have a separate section for that.
Great, thank you. And then the pedestrian vehicle collisions, do we have any repeat areas where that's happening, or any, are you able to tell us where those occur, and is there any kind of things that we can do?
Well, the trend that I've seen, and even going, prior years, of course, some of it happens within the shopping center parking lots. That's just due to, people walking to and fro to the businesses and people not paying attention. And, you can only do so much about that. Also, Fitzgerald and Appian Way in the intersection, which is quite a big intersection as well, seems to be a common area as well. Also with the passage of AB 2147 in 2022 with the Freedom to Walk Act, which limits our enforcement capability on like jaywalking now. Just so you know about that, we can't just stop for jaywalking unless, which is 21950 of the Vehicle Code, unless we can determine if that is going to put someone in immediate hazard from a collision. Then we can stop and enforce. But just the simple fact of jaywalking, we can't just stop for that anymore per AB 2147. So that I'm just looking into that recently, but it does have some impact on enforcement and it could possibly affect some of this, what you see on the stats.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Martinez-Rubin.
I also wondered about those unsafe turning movements, so I will ask for a review of the vehicle code as it relates to coming off of I-80, going west. One can turn right, and my understanding and my recollection is to following the code, one has to go onto the first lane. The closest lane would be the right-hand lane, but it's very tempting to go to the left because there are only two lanes there. Which is correct, and this is for everyone's review, because I have seen that once too many times, people wanting to go to the left-hand lane off of I-80 going west, the off-ramp, because they then are going to be continuing on Tennant. So what is the correct way to turn there off of I-80?
If I'm hearing you correctly, ma'am, we're talking about like the Pinole Valley Road off from westbound, and there's two lanes. One you can go left. So when you look.
One second, we should probably say that simpler. So like if you're coming from Hercules,
yes,
and getting off on Pinole Valley Road,
I-80 westbound off ramp to Pinole Valley Road.
Yeah.
When you're coming off the off ramp and you're looking at markings, the markings on the roadway are basically a sign, the same thing. 22-100, the vehicle code, improper lane position. When it says left turn only, and there's a left arrow on the ground, it's only left turn. If someone goes from the right lane and goes into left, that's an improper turn, and they can be sided, and it could also cause a collision as well. So people have to be aware of that, to know their markings, know their roadway position, and know which ways they can go.
Yeah, if you're turning right, you have to turn into the lane closest to the curb. That's the answer. All right. It's the same section that Officer Delau mentioned.
Thank you. So I was curious about the red light violations. Where are you seeing most of those occurring? The red light violations? Can you tell us that?
Obviously, Fitzgerald and Appian is an area, Tennant and the Ave. And also at Estates and Pinole Valley Road, we've seen, at least I have there, and then also at the near the I-80 off ramps and on ramps.
If I recall, at least at Appian Way and Fitzgerald, did you say? There is a camera, or there are cameras, or were cameras there? Are those usable at all in
There are
following
city
up on those?
there are city cameras for us to review, but there's it's not a red light camera or a photo. It's none of that.
We don't have those. Okay. Thank you. There was one other question that I had. Hidden runs. Hidden runs. What is the standard follow-up that local law enforcement does in a hidden run? And what comes to mind are increased, or the offering of by insurance companies to increase one's premium to cover for, usually it's uninsured motorists. But I imagine that there's some correlation between those hidden runs and being uninsured. And so one has to, again, be informed about a couple of things. One, determining one's risk, just the willingness of taking that risk or not, and the willingness to increase insurance because of that possibility of being hit at all. And then on top of that, be involved with the hidden run situation. So what's the follow-up, a standard follow-up by police enforcement that would allow a resident to somehow help them if they're involved in such a situation, and they are the one who is hit?
Well, I think if I'm reading right, there's kind of like two. You said what the citizens can do to help as well. First off, if a citizen is involved in a traffic collision and the other person drives off, the best thing they can do is be a good witness. Make, model a vehicle if they can, license plate number, description of the driver, and the direction of travel, of course. As far as for the officers and what we do for follow-up, there is significant follow-up involved within it, whether it be a hit and run, whether it be an injury involved, or just property damage only. And it starts with if we have it's based off the available information we have to go off of. Of course, we're going to be looking at cameras, whether it be Ring doorbell cameras if we can find that, or city cameras or business cameras. We try to exhaust our resources on that end. If we are able to get some follow-up means, which is a license plate or some type of identifiable information, we do have internal systems that we have access to that we can look up a significant amount of personal information from that to get addresses, names of relatives of that, if we can try to find that person who's registered. We also can, access the DMV system to get the registration. That could lead us to another means of follow-up, and then we just go down the path until we exhaust all of our resources at that point, hopefully for a successful outcome and finding the person at fault.
Thank you all.
Okay, Councilmember Sai, any questions?
Yes, thank you for the presentation, and also thank you all for your work on the DUI checkpoint that you all conducted. Apologize if I missed this information, but how many arrests were made at that checkpoint, if any?
Unfortunately, no DUI arrests were made at the checkpoint, but statistically, DUI checkpoints don't have a very strong outcome for DUI arrests. It's more of a deterrent, and to deter people from not drinking and driving, and also as an educational time where we can give resources to the drivers that come through. We often partner with MAD, which is Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and if they come out or they give us pamphlets and we hand that out to drivers, or we also have pamphlets that we from the cannabis grant that we got from the CHP. We have an educational budget, and we've made pamphlets and we pass those out at the checkpoints, and it gives information about DUI driving and drug impaired driving.
Got it. So it's education and a deterrent for folks who go through a checkpoint. but also probably a deterrent for folks who see that the DUI checkpoint, I mean, we publish it when it's going to happen, right?
Yes.
So I'd imagine that'd be the case too. Gotcha. So last year, it might have been a different presentation in this, but I asked a question about how many officers are currently trained to operate speed radar within the city. I believe the answer to the question last year was 1. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chief. Has the number went up? Does it stay the same? And are any officers currently in training for that?
Hi there. There's currently 2 officers trained with the use of LiDAR, which stands for light detection and ranging. It's myself and Officer Sorensen. However, in the new grant cycle that we put in for, I put in for additional training for the use of radar and LiDAR training, and also requested money to buy additional LiDAR units to outfit the officers in each shift so they can utilize that resource while on patrol, so we can have that another tool to our disposal.
That's excellent. Thank you for work on that. One thing that I noticed too, and there's a slide on citations. I noticed that minor violations like lights and registration seem to make up a big share of the citations compared to speeding. Do you know why that usually is? Is it just easier to enforce, or are the constraints around more speed enforcement?
Yeah, that's a tricky number, because in reality, that number is reflecting a lot of what our CSOs do, which is parking enforcement. So many of those citations are actually for registration for like parked cars, or can be even other equipment violations of parked vehicles. We can separate those out, but this particular number on this slide is reflecting all those citations and ones that the officers have moved from during traffic stops.
Thank you. My last question here is on slide 4. Collisions related to failure to maintain a lane. Chief, you probably know where I'm going with this because I've spoken to you about this, but there is a section of San Pablo Avenue right now. As you turn left going down Appian Way, going towards Richmond, it's where veterans housing and senior housing developments are. But there's a section there where there's absolutely no lane striping. There are a lot of residents who reached out to me, especially around the rainy season. There's been a lot of close calls for them where cars are sort of getting close to each other on the left and right lane. So I'm curious, with the failure to maintain lane collisions, how many of those have been in that corridor of San Pablo Avenue, if any?
That's a great question. We don't have that information, but I can get it to you. I can tell you that if it's not marked, and I know what section you're talking about, they shouldn't be in violation of failure to maintain a lane if there's no indicator of what lane it is. But that's not to say that it's not an unsafe turning movement, depending on what they're doing when the collision occurs. And I can get that to you, though, if you'd like it in an email or something.
That'd be great. Thank you so much. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thank you for the questions. That was kind of leading into one of my questions is, as you are out on patrol, and how's the markings in general in the city of Pinole? I know that we've heard reports back. I know Director El Gundi has been kind of tracking that, but how is that information that you guys see in the field, or is that information getting back to our engineering department?
Of course, there are certain areas of the city that can improve on markings, but I feel that we are very good at communicating that with Public Works up the chain of command. We all know it takes time to get things done, and there's a huge amount of areas that need improvement. So the best thing we can do is just be out there and be proactive and maintain visible presence, and that way it slows people down. And then doing enforcement, using that as a deterrent when they see us out there making stops, slows them down, and it makes them think twice about the way they're driving. Usually it makes them drive a little bit better when we're out there. So, the enforcement and the visibility help with that until we can get the, all the markings completed in time.
Thank you for that. And I'm just going to ask some of the questions that come to mind when I see numbers like 1,342 for a 6-month period. And it seems pretty consistent with our last 6 months. But I'm noticing that the total citations is lower than that. What happens to the other 2/3 of the individuals that were stopped? I mean, what's the process for them?
Of course, when we make enforcement stops, we do have discretion on whether to give a citation or not. And we operate obviously not within the letter of the law all the time. There's times where we do strictly enforce during enforcement details, saturation patrols, that type of stuff. But oftentimes we take a humanistic approach to the stops. Try to relate to the individual we stop with, see what's going on, because it could be something else going on in their life they might need help with, and we can maybe provide that service to. But we try to have that humanistic approach and give warnings when applicable and when it is warranted.
I see. So there is some discretion in the 2/3, but I guess what I'm wondering is out of that number, how many? I don't know. This is probably difficult to capture, but how many of those were, falling into the red light, you know what I mean? Or any of the other, not so much the moving, but there has to be other stops that are kind of like, hey, your registration is delayed by a month, or, can you get that taken care of? I guess, what are the types of things? So that I'm imagining the odds and ends stuff for a vehicle. Is that kind of what?
I think you might be referring to moving versus non-moving citations. Is that what your question is?
Well, so, I mean, maybe we should look at the slide. It's the slide, let's see, one,
Is it 8?
second from the last, just before the motorcycle picture. Yeah, this one right here. So you have total traffic stops and then total citations. And then of those citations, we're saying that some of those are parking, or we remove. I'm trying to gauge the.
Yes, so the data that we pulled for this table is all total citations that have been issued. So they can be moving violations, they can be parking citations. They can also be other citations, for another infraction that an officer writes a citation instead of maybe placing somebody under arrest and booking them in jail. So with our system that we have, unless we go through them individually, we are not able to separate moving citations versus non-movers. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so the majority of it is educational. So if we're pulling somebody over, typically it's hey, we have this going on, and person in theory would go take care of it. So if your lights out or something that's a small thing, I guess. I don't know. I mean, it seems pretty serious when you say it out loud, but just wondering what that all comprises of, just all the total stops. And then I was going to ask a question, but you probably don't capture this data, but like how much of it is Pinole and how much of it is people outside of Pinole? I don't know if that's a number you could pull, like you wouldn't be able to, right?
Yeah, that's a great question, and we could get that information from stop data that's reported to the state.
Just out of curiosity, it'd be interesting to see, if is it somebody racing through Pinole, because I honestly don't see a lot of people driving crazy where I live, and I mean, I might see one, like there is a couple times where people will just speed through, and so that's, I guess, the question is that, is it people coming from outside of Pinole, racing through Pinole for whatever reason? So that was just the questions that I had.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be shocked by the answer. It's
Wow.
Pinole. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. No, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah. And just back on the total traffic stops, sir, they're not necessarily like pretext stops where they're doing like these basic equipment violations. The trend with our officers, just what I've seen, is that they're typically stopping for these violations and others, moving violations, and then doing like an educational presentation in the window, essentially.
Okay. No, that sounds good. Those were my questions. I know. We have one more. Councilmember Martinez-Rubin.
Well, you got me thinking about those traffic stops.
I shouldn't have been talking.
That's what happens. So here's what I'm thinking is an opportunity, although you probably have it on your list of things to do already. With all those traffic spots and they being educational opportunities, I am wondering, here's the reality of it. In Pinole, there's a good percentage of senior citizens. And depending on the source, the age range is going to vary, and the percentage is going to vary. The ones that I'm thinking about are the ones who, for whom letting go of their driving license is difficult. It's a challenge for many different reasons. One of them, often I know of or hear of, is the associated independence when one can drive. But there comes a time when one ought not to drive and is placing the individual at risk as well as others at risk. So I'm wondering if there's anything in your stops that you can compile that supports an interest and or a need in Pinole for greater awareness and then preceding that educational efforts, focused educational efforts on that segment of our community.
That's a great question. We actually did a presentation to the Senior Center, I believe it was in December, about traffic safety, and we will be continuing to do that. We, at Vista Woods, we've reached out to them to possibly do a presentation as well. We're still in the works of doing that. But also through enforcement or doing traffic collisions. The DMV has a form called a priority re-exam form that we can use as a tool or resource when we feel that maybe there's a certain factor, whether it be medical disability or maybe just old age. We can force the driver to go retake their exam through DMV based off certain factors we have to lay out basically on that. We can't just do it carte blanche. We have to have a reason why. And then DMV will administer the test to see if they're still fit to drive. So that is a resource we have to protect our older drivers. But as far as the education is concerned, we are advancing on that and trying to do more within the community.
Thank you.
Okay, so that generated another question for me at 8:21. Driverless cars or no driverless cars? Well, just because a lot of the elderly community is starting to kind of get on board with it because of the freedom that it offers, and really it's the privacy too. You're not getting into a vehicle like Uber with somebody else there. Thoughts on that?
So I
put you on the spot.
I recently was present for a presentation by a safety consultant from Tesla, and they were talking about automated vehicles. And there's a range of automation of vehicles from no automation to fully automated, and many steps in between. And it's very new. It's definitely developing. The Highway Patrol is the representative for that development for the state of California. There is a specific liaison through the CHP that is working on that, because there will be enforcement actions that the local police departments and sheriff's office will have to take once those vehicles become more prevalent out on the roads. So there's a lot of unknown at this point, but the foundation is in place to address that as it comes forward. And so depending on the level of automation, then the responsibility of the driver also shifts as well. So there will be laws and legislation forthcoming about that.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move to public comment. Madam Clerk.
Yes, we do have one. Rafael Menes.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff, chief officers, and public. I have a few questions on this item. First, related to the mayor's last question about automated vehicles. Recently, there was a major power outage in San Francisco, and the external communication for several of the automated vehicles that they used for basically backup when there was a breakdown didn't work, and so they basically blocked the streets. Does the city have any plan for what to do if that sort of situation happened in Pinole? And secondly, I note that on one of the slides showing the basically heat map density of collisions, that for the January through June segment, the intersection of Appian Way and San Pablo Avenue, where Appian turns into Piñon, is a particularly marked collision point. And while I recognize that the active transportation plan does have a left-hand turn signal being installed there as one of the proposed improvements, I don't know on what timeline that improvement is supposed to happen. So I've got a question for you about right-of-way there. Obviously, if you're turning left on green and somebody's going straight through the intersection, the person going straight has right-of-way, or if a pedestrian's going through, the pedestrian has right-of-way. But since somebody turning right is supposed to stay in the right lane, can you make a turn left and stay in the left lane, or do you need to wait for all cars turning right to move through first and then turn left? Because that's a question I've seen come up sometimes, and that's entirely apart from when you've got a vehicle that's indicating they're turning right, and then suddenly they decide to go straight, and then you're like, okay, what do you do in that instance? So I guess just a right-of-way question, and also a plea to the council to move forward on the active transportation plan implementation of having it be a properly signalized left-hand turn intersection so there's fewer collisions there. And that's all my questions and comments on this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you guys want to take a shot at answering the questions?
As far as the second half of the question, I don't want to speak on the city's plan for the Waymo situation, but that specific intersection you're talking about, as long as there is, in that intersection, there's a left turn lane and a straight lane. Also, you can turn right onto San Pablo eastbound. The opposite Pinole, there's a straight lane, but they can also turn left onto eastbound San Pablo Avenue. Both Pinole traffic turning left and Appian traffic turning left can turn at the same time. Now, as long as traffic is clear for the straight traffic and it's not impeding and it's safe to do so, they can turn.
Right, I meant more the San Pablo turning right and Appian turning left. So like this.
Oh, if Pinole is turning right as well,
So like
in the same.
If Pinion's turning left, so you're going from Pinion onto San Pablo, and Appian is turning right at the same time. Because there's often a lot of cars turning right onto San Pablo.
So in that situation, the Appian Way traffic, they have to stop for a red to turn right, because for Pinole traffic to make a left turn in that area, they have to have a green light, and that would force Appian to have have to stop to clear traffic.
So I don't want to create a back and forth dialogue, because I knew this was going to happen. Right when you said westbound 80, we're going to be trying to explain multiple things at once. I would say if we could just summarize that conversation, because I do want to make sure that question's answered, but comprehensively. Is that possible?
Well, I'm also looking at our Public Works
Okay.
Director, who's a traffic engineer.
And maybe he might be
Maybe offline, but also we could make sure it's in more detail.
right. Because I knew this was going to happen, because now I'm interested. I want to know what. But thank you, Speaker. Appreciate the question. Do we have any other public comment?
No other comment.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. We'll go ahead and move on to, let's see, we're next on the agenda is consent calendar. So item 9, Do any council members have any items they would like to pull? Does not seem like we have any. Councilmember Sasai, we can't see you. Any items to pull?
No items pulled. Motion to approve.
1 second, we wanted to get public comment in real quick. Are there any public comment, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Rafael Menez has submitted a card for 9B, D, and E.
Good evening again. I'll be pretty brief on these. For 9B, on page number 48, vendor PER 03, the California Public Employees Retirement System, I noted several instances where there was interest assessed due to untimely payments, and I don't recall seeing that on prior lists of warrants. I'm curious as to why this happened and if there are ways the city can prevent it from happening in the future. With regards to item 9D, the moratorium, I just wanted to say briefly, I'm glad the city is moving forward with this and I support it. And with regards to item 9E, the sort of semi-emergency purchase of new blowers, I would note that members of the public frequently issue criticism over expenditures in the $5,000 to $50,000 range. But here we have a consent calendar item for an expenditure in the, let me pull up the exact number of it. Need to go down a few hundred pages to get to 9E.
It's 237.
Right, $237,000 basically as a consent calendar item. And while I agree that this is an appropriate item to bring forward and that the city is going to need to have those blowers before, they blow up and there's no replacements available and it would take 8 weeks to get a new one. I think it's worthwhile of note that we don't have members of the public commenting on, that level of expenditure being on the consent calendar, but they do on other items. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Do we have any? City Manager, are there any answers to those questions? I mean,
I will certainly do more research on item B that was brought up on the interest charges and provide that to the City Council. And then on the item it didn't really seem to be an issue in item D as that was a second read. Item E, I will certainly work with the council if you have any kind of threshold you prefer, whether it's CalPER.
I think this might be CUPCA, right?
Yeah.
Where it's under pre-approved bidding. I don't know if.
Again, we'll take a look at that, and if there's anything in question, we'll make sure it goes on to new business instead of consent as appropriate.
Okay. All right. So, Councilmember Sasai will entertain a motion. You started a motion to approve consent.
So moved.
And I'll second.
Okay. Moved by Councilmember Sasai, second by Toms. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Toms?
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez Rubin?
Yes.
Councilmember Sasai?
Yes.
Noting for the record that Mayor Pro Tem Murphy is absent. Mayor Tave?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you. There are no public hearings or old business. The next item 12A, new business. Director Ogundy, please go ahead. City Manager, if you could introduce the item.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. Tonight's new business item is accepting the safety improvements at Appian Way and Marlesta Road as complete and approving the final notice of completion. This project came in approximately 16% below budget. I want to commend staff for that result. I want to thank the community for their investment with Measure S funds. And finally, this evening, we have the Public Works Director here with a brief presentation. Please take it away.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor and Council members, good evening. I will provide a brief presentation on the completed improvements at the intersection of Appian Way and Marlesta Road. Next slide, please. This project was part of the 5-year CIP for fiscal year 22-23 through 26-27. It included a number of improvements, including the installation of a new traffic control signal, as well as high visibility crosswalks across all intersection legs, in addition to green bicycle lanes treatment on the Appian Way approaches and crossings of the bicycle facilities. And as shown on the photo, you can tell where the slurry seal took place, in addition to pedestrian signal advance warning signs on the approaches. Next slide, please. This project was awarded for design in February of 2021. After completion of the design phase, the construction was awarded in October of 22. The order of the signal poles and other equipment took several months. So the actual construction commenced in September of 23. And the project was completed mostly in 2024, whereas the final contractor's invoice was in February 2025. That's not our reimbursement request for the grant funding. That's the invoice from the contractor. Next slide, please. Prior to going through the funding sources and amount, if I could also add reference to the nearby improvements, if you recall, at the intersection of Appian Way and Man Drive, with the replacement of the signals at that intersection, and the additional sidewalks and various public improvements funded by the development project, the Appian Village residential development. Appian Way is one of the priority safety corridors, as you could see from the presentation on the collision statistics and findings associated with that. So there has been a number of improvements along the corridor with additional recommendations through the local road safety plan. Going back to our project at the intersection of Appian Way and Marlesta Road, the overall contract budget totaled at $715,891, including 10% contingency. And that was funded by federal One Bay Area Grant Fund in the amount of $350,000, state Transportation Development Act Fund in the amount of $129,400, in addition to the local match from Measure S that was originally planned in the amount of $236,491. The actual cost, despite that there was a change order, but the purchase of the material and including the signal equipments turned out to be cheaper than originally estimated, and there was no need to use the contingency. So the actual project cost totaled as $600,000 and $218,000, with the difference being removed from the local match. Currently, we've already reimbursed all the TDA funds. The vast majority of the OBAG funds, we only have $40,000. Subject to your approval tonight, we will be able to request this final reimbursement for the remaining fund. Next slide, please. The staff recommendations is for City Council to accept the safety improvements at Appian Way and Marlesta Road as complete, and to also approve the filing of the project's notice of completion with the county clerks. With the filing of the NOC, the 1 year warranty per se would commence, and we've already received the bond from the contractor to handle any deficiencies that happen within that year. And with that, I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, Councilmember Toms, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a comment from a resident on Marlesta, and she stated that there was a Westcat bus traveling on Marlesta looking to make a turn onto Appian Way, and the sensor did not pick up the bus. She wasn't able to tell me if it was because of the position of the bus, but I just wanted to check with you that the sensors confirm that the sensors are on Marlesta and they're in the standard position of where sensors are supposed to be.
Yes, but I will keep a note of this concern and I will follow up. This is not necessarily due to the installation of the signal. It could be an operational issue, and I will coordinate with the county and find out.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Martinez-Rubin, any questions?
Yeah, I'm wondering now if that's related also to some instances where I know that I've experienced from Marlesta onto Appian wanting to turn right hand, so going toward the bay. What seems to be an extraordinarily lengthy period before the green light signal goes, and I don't know. I don't know why that is. It's tempting to turn because traffic is not visible, but to err on the safe side, I stay in my lane until the signal says go. And I'm wondering if that's a sensor-related matter as well. So it's not so much the size of the vehicle. I don't know what it could be.
It wouldn't be the size of the vehicle. It could be an issue with the timing and or with the detection. And I will look into that.
So, sometimes it seems like 2 cycles of green to the, to the traffic going north and south occurs before a green signal to turn
Then
comes
that's
on.
probably a detection issue.
Okay, thank you for that. And otherwise, it's a comment that I have about this is the kind of project that members of the public, and especially those who live on near these intersections, celebrate. They actually, it makes them happy because they think about the safety that is increased even to cross as pedestrians. And especially now as spring approaches and there's more light, the desire to do more walking, if we're encouraging a more walking city, this definitely helps with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Martinez-Rubin. Councilmember Sasai.
I wanted to announce that Councilmember Sasai has exited the meeting. He wasn't feeling well. So.
Well, I'll make some comments then. This presentation was short, to the point, and it was a win for us, and I want to say thank you. The kids I know walk down that street after school. I see them a lot of times when I do pick up my son. So to know that that intersection is safer, I know we originally went to the Hawk program, then we changed from the Hawk program to this. So to Councilmember Martinez-Rubin's point, this is a celebrated win for your team, so thank you. And a celebrated win for City of Pinole. So we'll look for a motion to adopt the resolution.
Oh, we do have a public comment.
Oh, public comment.
Yes,
right.
thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
Rafael Menes.
Ms. Morwin, sorry about that.
No problem.
I was excited there. I was like, man, let's get this one in the books.
You have to let the public celebrate too.
I know. I'm sorry.
I also wanted to rejoice in the fact that the city got the project done, as on time as it could, but more importantly, well under budget. I think like 19% under the contingency and still like 7% under the non-contingency costs. And I was curious, I wanted to ask Director Ogindi, in your experience, how often do you see projects coming in under budget by this amount? Thank you.
It does happen. It depends on the type of the project. In this case, because of the timing of when the signal equipment was ordered versus when the actual construction took place, it worked in our favor, thankfully. But it does happen. And I would like to also have a shout out for my predecessor, Sanjay, who worked on this project.
Great. Okay, looking for a motion to.
Okay, I'll move that we approve the resolution to accept the safety improvements at Appian Way and Marlesta Road as complete and approve the filing of the notice of completion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Toms, second by Councilmember Martinez-Rubin. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Toms.
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez-Rubin.
Yes.
Noting for the record that Councilmember Sasai and Murphy are both absent. Mayor Tave.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Director. We'll go on to item 13, our second citizens to be heard. For those citizens who did not speak during our first citizens to be heard. Madam Clerk.
Yes. Rafael Menes.
Good evening. For the final time this evening, Mayor, Council, staff, and members public, my name is Rafael Menes. I'm a resident of Pinole, and there are a few items I'd like to discuss this evening. First off, the relative prevalence rates of COVID-19 and influenza type A in the region of Contra Costa County and California as a whole. They've declined pretty significantly. There's still that one odd site in Alameda County that's very high for COVID-19 levels, but most of the sites are low or very low for COVID-19, and California as a whole continues to be reporting a very low level. And even nationally, apparently, it's gotten down to the low level for COVID-19. With regards to influenza type A, we're at the low level as a state compared to very low for the country. So sort of the inverse of the situation for COVID-19, but it's a pretty sharp drop. I think we're roughly approaching the area where it may be safe to go without a mask in more crowded indoor areas, because we're finally getting to the point of very low, very low. But of course, if you're immunocompromised or you're caring for individuals who are elderly, you may still want to maintain precautions in any case. The other thing I wanted to highlight was that Indivisible Northeast Bay is going to be holding a rally on March 28th at Fernandez Park at the gazebo from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And we want to invite members of the community to that, noting also that space is limited due to the City of Pinole's permitting rules. So we would request that people register in advance at mobilize.us/ let me pull up the exact, Indivisible Northeast Bay /event/9111746. And that's to register for the rally. Following that, we plan to have a protest at the intersection of San Pablo and Tennant, spreading out from there from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. as typical, though we expect more people to be there than typical. So we've already notified the police department about this, and there's been increased planning and there'll be increased support there. If people desire to register for that event, the Mobilize link for it is mobilize.us/mobilize/event/902827, but registration is not as high a priority there as there isn't a strict numbers limit. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. Do we have any other public speakers?
Looks like we don't have any online, so no other public comments.
Okay. We're now ready to adjourn with item 14. I adjourn the meeting to the special city council meeting of March 24th in remembrance of Amber Schwartz.